I've been wanting to talk about Community on this channel for a while now. You might be able to tell, given that the very name Pillar of Garbage is lifted from the show.
One day at work, I heard this sound. It was Pillar of Garbage.
Oh, that's their best song. Best song.
I got it right here.
And I think I've come up with a reading of the show that I don't think anyone else has made, so what better time to start talking about Greendale? Spoilers ahead for the whole show, by the way. To me, this is a program all about jumping the shark. What do I mean by that? Well, if you don't know, jumping the shark is a term popularly used to denote a moment in a show or a franchise which is just a bit too far, stretching credibility to a breaking point, or changing the formula too much. The term comes from an episode of Happy Days in which the Fonz literally water ski jumped over a shark. For a show which started off a bit more grounded, this was seen as a marker that the spirit of the original Happy Days was more or less over. Since then, of course, the term has entered general usage. It's on Urban Dictionary a bunch of times. But how does this tie into Community? Well, as you'll know if you've watched anywhere past, say, the second season of this show, this is a world which changes all the time in big ways. Sometimes these changes are obvious narrative ones, like the ludicrously over-the-top Chang-Ku plot in Season 3, or what Season 5 does with Pierce's death and Troy's nautical departure. Other times, these leaps from a status quo are more formal or stylistic departures, like the way Season 2's Christmas episode is suddenly claymation, or the similar dynamics at play in Season 5's G.I. Jeff. People have often asked the question, did Community jump the shark? And if so, when? And the moments above are frequently suggested answers, and most fans seem to believe that the show never did really jump the shark. That given Community's wild zaniness and dedication to experimentation, none of these moments were changes big enough or moments unexpected enough to qualify as shark jumps, but I want to offer an alternate perspective. What if they all are? The first point I want to make is that Dan Harmon, or at least the Community writers' room, are very aware of this concept. See for yourself.
If you and I move in, we jump the shark, that'll end it.
Well, maybe you're ending it. And for the record, there was an episode of Happy Days where a guy literally jumped over a shark, and it was the best one.
I don't think this is just a slightly meta joke though. Community, as with any Harmon project, is exceedingly media literate. As often happens, Abed's meta-commentary echoes actual concerns of the writers. The clip I just showed you came from the end of the first season, and given the wild swings that are to come from even early Season 2, not to mention Season 1 episodes like Contemporary American Poultry and Modern Warfare, which already feel very different to the more traditional episodes at Season 1's beginning, I think it's fair to assume that when Community takes these swings, it's doing so while hyper-aware of the jumping the shark phenomenon. Essentially, the path of weirdness that Community chooses around this stage in its history is one which directs the show towards new, weird, unrealistic, over-the-top moments which, in a more normal show, would be serious contenders for shark jumping. The moment where it all went too far, got too weird, too stupid. But instead of avoiding these shark jumps, Community devotes all of its energy into chasing them. Episodes rely entirely upon the strength of their gimmicks, like the aforementioned claymation or the clip show mayhem of Paradigms of Human Memory. This accelerates in Season 3, an episode whose conceit is showing the same few minutes in different timelines, or an arc around a supremely powerful and mystical secret society of aircon repairmen. But this reliance upon gimmick actually works, partly due to the strength of the writing and the performances, but also because of the large-scale way this show embraces what might be termed an aesthetics of absurdity. How do you keep a show fresh, long-term, and avoid jumping the shark? The answer Community suggests is that you create a show where the shark gets jumped every few weeks. One result of this resolution is that by the show's final season, we're pretty much on board with anything. It's like a vaccine. After being peppered with shark jumping moments for 5 years, we're pretty much immune to incredulity. So season 6 throws a lot at us. The first episode sees a speakeasy being built underneath the university's kitchen. Then we get episodes like the road trip one, which revolves around Abed's attempt to use flashback to manipulate the narrative structure of his reality.
All right, meeting adjourned. Great. Extra thick straps. Extra thick straps. Extra thick straps.
Finally, of course, we have a finale comprised in large part of hypothetical 7th seasons.
Well, bruised but not rotten. Asian kid in my math class doesn't want to study because he doesn't want to be a stereotype. It's pretty funny.
Sounds like a strong B story.
It's all almost offensively absurd, but at this point, it would be weirder if it wasn't weird at all. But why? What's the point of this? Well, if, as with the original shark jump in Happy Days, these moments signify a fundamental change in the show from one sort of setting, one sort of style to another, then Community's dedication to jumping the shark over and over feels like the show making it clear to its audience that it wasn't content to just be one thing. It's easy to conceive of this show nowadays as the frankly experimental piece it eventually turned out to be, but put your mind in the brain of someone back in 2011 or 12 seeing Abed's Uncontrollable Christmas or Remedial Chaos Theory for the first time, without any inkling that the relatively grounded Greendale we see at the show's start could become anything like this. You might well think that this show had reached a point like Happy Days did, where the unique identity is over, played out, and it's resorting to cheap tricks and gimmicks to keep viewership alive. But then the series hits with the same thing time after time, and you realise that this first Greendale that we'd seen, the one with Vaughn, with Slater, and with Professor Whitman, is one of many that the show has to offer. And if the show keeps jumping the shark higher and higher, it will never really decline, start on the road towards a slow and painful death, because it'll just be reborn in more and more exciting, weird, and glorious shapes. But there's a lot more to be said on Community's complicated relation to normality and reality even. At some point in the future, I'd love to make a video exploring the postmodernity of this show, looking at Community's genre homages through the ideas of cultural theorists like Jean Baudrillard or Frederick Jameson, so let me know if any of you would be interested in watching a video like that. But thanks for watching. Stick around if you like this sort of analysis, because I'm hoping to be able to do this sort of thing with an ever wider library of shows and movies. And make sure to get your fingers all up in those like and subscribe buttons like you're Britta in a tent with Subway.
They want to express that love in a perfectly healthy way, then okay, hold on. Is this what I think it is? That? Odd, unhealthy, real quick.
But yeah, thanks again, and hopefully I'll see you soon.